Hey guys, I'm Matt with Wilcox Tractor Sales. Welcome to Wilcox Nation. Thanks for tuning in to our first ever video. And today we're going to show you some of the things that we go through on a new machine before we buy it, to test different areas of the machine that are important, to make sure it's in good operating condition, and ultimately to determine how much we're going to spend on the machine and if we're going to buy it at all. If you're ready, I am too. Let's get to it. So first thing is obviously to approach the machine and enter the cab. You want to start it and idle it up to about 1/3 of the throttle. And the first set of movements we're going to go through is just simply driving forward and backwards. While you're doing this, you just want to make sure that the machine is capable of doing so at about 1/3 throttle. And you also want to be listening out for any unnatural sounds coming from the tracks, such as rattling, clanking, or banging sounds. Anything that just doesn't sound normal that raises your flags that something may be wrong. A strong hydraulic pump should be able to counter-rotate the tracks even if the engine is at 1/3 throttle. If one track moves faster than the other, this implies that either one of the two drivetrains is weak or one of the two pumps is weak. If the machine bogs down significantly or even stalls out while doing this test, this implies that the engine is weak. If it does stall out while counter-rotating at 1/3 throttle, rev the machine up and test at what level the throttle needs to be for it to effectively counter-rotate. If the machine does in fact counter-rotate appropriately at an even speed between the two tracks and the engine doesn't bog down too much, you know that these three areas are in good working condition. If it does not, you know that one of these three areas is weak and you need to do additional diagnostics tests to figure out what is the key issue. The next area that we're going to test is the machine's swing brake. To test this, swing the cab of the machine a full 360 degrees and abruptly let go of the stick or stop swinging it. Pay attention to how long the machine takes to come to a full stop. The length of time a machine will take to stop itself swinging varies based on the size of the machine and the speed at which it is being rotated. The general rule of thumb, though, is that the machine should stop itself as soon as possible. While you're in the operator's seat, you should be able to feel the machine brake itself, and if it doesn't, you know the swing brake is worn. It should be checked on to ensure operator and bystander safety. The next area that we're going to test is of the internal seals on the lift cylinders and to check if there are any other pressure leaks in the system. To do this, gently push down on the stick and raise the front of the machine into the air. Hold the machine in this position for only a few seconds and watch for any movement. The machine should be able to hold itself up in this position, but if it begins to sag down, it normally means that there could be internal wear in the seals of the lift cylinder, or if it's not that there is a pressure leak somewhere else in the system. If the leak is within the lift cylinders, repacking them should take care of it. If the leak is coming from somewhere else in the system, further diagnostics will need to be performed to identify the issue. Finally, the last part of our operator's field test will be to check for wear in the pins and bushings and to identify whether the bucket will need to be shimmed. To test this, gently rest the bucket onto the ground. Very slightly lift the stick and arm and carefully look to see if these parts are moving before the bucket. If the arm or stick moves slightly before the bucket, this shows that there is vertical wear on the pins and bushings at the connection points. Once you have done this, slightly lift the bucket off the ground and gently rock the stick and arm left to right. With this movement, look for parts of the machine that appear loose. When the bosses that hold the stick, arm, and bucket together wear down, they begin to allow horizontal movement. Most of the time, this movement can be tightened up by adding shims at the connection points. If vertical wear exists, this can be fixed by replacing the worn pins and bushings with newer versions of the same. So that's it for a quick operator's field test. Again, it's just a few movements that you can go through if you're short on time and space to test the major components of an excavator. Thanks for tuning in today, and we hope you learned something. We'll see you next time on Wilcox Nation.
Call the law 'cause you're committing crime.